Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. It's nice and warm and sunny. And woodwork is finger stinging sometimes, so I'm going to try to do some woodwork on this Maine Rhyolite that I got from Anthony. Thank you, Anthony. People interested in wood napping, I usually say wood wamping, so check out the Paleo Planet thread that Pete Davis started. John Adams and Steve Nisley and a whole bunch of other guys posted a whole lot of cool information in there. Some of the photos are probably were on a photo sharing service that's not activated, so that's unfortunate, but there's still some good information. Jack Cresson is doing some work on this. I'm getting back in the swing of wood napping, so I'm sort of punching above my weight. But I think there might be a couple things that I can add to the discussion if it's okay to share. And you would think that a rock like this wouldn't be able to be worked with wood. In 1994, being a Midwestern guy, we like to swing big billets. This before hammerstones were even really used that much. I was a poo-poo naysayer, and I saw James Parker work at the Flint Ridge Nap-In and started learning more about it and had to eat some. I mean, I didn't. It's not like I was closed-minded, but I kind of was. So eating some serious crow and working with the different tools. And there's good evidence in the flake removals and things like that, and you can read up on it. I'm just it's sort of above my pay grade, or at least I don't want to act like a supreme authority on this. But I went through a phase where I did quite a bit of woodworking, so I think I've got some qualification. So that's all I need to say about that. It's really neat, counterintuitive, fun. So this is a rhyolite, and it's got a lot of air and a lot of holes in it, and a lot of impurities. It's the trickiest part about working this stuff is learning to be aggressive and have some attrition. You can't, in my experience, you have to go through phases of aggressive early hammerstone reduction, and then some percussion, and I like to use a lot of punch work too, which I'll show. What happens when bifaces start getting thinner, and I'll show the smushy support, I'll try to do this in like 3 parts, is that if you have a high platform or heavy platform, even though you're supporting really well, the downward will cause a lot of folding and bending, because you look at the break and you can see this is the flake that broke this piece. You can see the cross section and see the fracture that started the break. Usually it'll correspond with weak areas or impurities, although it's all through this stuff. And then the down caused that to just split. It just caused it to just, fold and crack. If that would have been a little bit different material, maybe that wouldn't have broke. But there's not a lot of strength in it when it starts getting thin. So if you want to do stems and shapes and work on tips and turn edges without using wood pressure, then I like using the punch, and I'll show that. Setting up edges and combining it with some direct percussion, and then some punch work and boxing early. There's some point styles that are sometimes cached that are really preforms, right, where the base can be modified, but they'll have just a boxed stem that later can be going and just like shaped with a little wood pressure or some other finer punch work. And then a lot of manufacturer breaks, all over the archaeological record, you see them getting bases oriented and then breaking. So it seems like, well, they broke that using it, when no, it's just a manufacturer break. Because there's a lot of organization on basal work. One, because you don't want to end snap it if you're too heavy on the back, and then you want to get that tapered down so you can just finish the rest of the cutting edges last. So let's start with some hammerstone. I've got this phone hopefully where it's a good angle. Too often it's way up here and it's frustrating, but I'm having to look. I'm gonna have to adjust this a little bit because I can barely see the rock. I wish more wood nappers would put wood stuff on YouTube. And if you're making flint napping videos and I don't see it, you should. And or even if I do see it, and you want to just put links to your flint knapping in the comments, and then I'll edit the video description to include links. There's a lot of people doing stuff that I should be getting more views. Part of it's just due to it's so hard to film this stuff first person view. But Oscar from Oregon is doing some wood knapping, some wood punching. So I mentioned that. I can put a link about that. That's mostly on Daysite and Obsidian, which is I guess the same thing. So this could be obviously a whole lot of heaviness off the back here, or tip. The quality looks to be pretty even. So I'll just turn these edges down and get some flakes here, and then split the difference and get a flake there. Probably a lot of the little small dart points. See how brittle that is? Did it crack off that platform? Yep. I didn't see any, but there's a teeny bit in there, and then when I hit this too high on the margin to trim on this stuff, it just doesn't have tensile strength. So folded. I've got 3 finished pieces done so far, and I broke 2 preforms. Looking for a little fresher spot on that hammerstone. Okay, lost a little bit of length, but you see how much flatter that is. There's going to be a crack off of this, maybe. I need a little bit. I need to use this one a little softer and a little heavier. It's really awkward to swing around this phone. You've got width, just make sure you've got those turned edges steep enough early. See how that flake just shattered? But it was soft enough and high enough, it sort of did the job. Not having a big turtle back right here kind of helps on these wider preforms and this stuff. Let's do a little wood percussion. The wood percussion outside of the leg, more leather support. Braider. Probably a good idea to, when work this, is accept a lot of loss and do a lot of hammerstone work at once on several, then switch to wood. The crossover from antler to wood flake signatures on this are going to be pretty obvious in the sample, because it's the energy transfer and the amount of platform contact and air in the stuff is going to make it really distinct. Naysayers and debunkers need receipts, all right? It's one thing to say something can't be done. It's another thing to do it and say it can't be done. So most of the time, it's there's a lot of guys out there that are just not putting YouTube videos online that are pretty inspiring. I'd have this thing so hinged up with an antler billet, so crushed and hinged. I hope I don't. Sometimes the wood flakes can travel through such a flat surface. The good news is that the main thinning is slower going, so the depth of the flake can be thinner while still held together, and so you don't get gross in this contour here on a glassy material with as much back edge support as I'm going to have here and as much surface support. An antler flake would have a tendency to want to run in and dive through here and take away that much of the edge. The wood is more friendly. It's still dead, but just a perfect amount, because that's now getting us set to do this side. Sometimes it's unavoidable. There's just, the flakes are gonna step because there's not much material holding this thing together. Small flake. Sometimes you just have to trim a heavy edge down with a little hammerstone. Let's kind of chop it in and we'll come back through this corner. Point typology is probably driven by this technology as it comes to thinning and using the wood, I would imagine. I mean, that's just an idea, but when you're making shapes and you're trying to do this thin on the bottom without losing a lot of length, it really makes sense to make at least a short stem and catch up with some of those thinning issues from the corners of the bottom. Can you see this? It'd be nice to get another flake across there, but this contour isn't going to allow it. So I'm going to do this standby, trim this down, and then come and clean through here. This is the hardest part of this woodworking on this material, is turning these edges right and not getting weird bumps and areas. I think I can do one right here. And that'll give me opportunity to get one here and then here. See that little bump? That's no bueno. Probably some wood pressure or using my little punch would be helping out setting these. We'll show that maybe on the other side. Pretty much straight in. See that? It was extra wide because of the where it was grabbing. Okay, that was smart, because now we've got this edge set to come back and get rid of that problem. There's really no such thing as problems unless it has to do with making the point or dart or knife structurally weird or lead to contours which make predictable and efficient resharpening weird. Just a small one. Okay, now we can do a little bigger one there. Okay. It takes a while to get the memory back in gear, but I'm starting to feel it because I've worked on this for a few hours, not today, but last couple of weeks. And the skill sets, like I did this balling video and described the skill sets. When I'm in flint mode and on a construction site, and I realize that I'm getting kind of skilled up on different areas, and I can take more risks, and I can, depending on how far I am to the truck, what I want to carry. The more you do it, the more crafty you get at kind of being efficient. And so, I mean, I could have as much experience in knapping, and if I haven't done it, if I don't have a practice in a skill set, it doesn't, just takes a while. And this wood I'd like to be able to get into it more, but a lot of this material and point types I don't have a market for, and I'm sort of having to do a certain amount of knapping I don't want to do. Which it's okay, but I'm not complaining, but you know what I mean. I probably should have hit in a little bit more. Okay, this one is going to not terminate great, but I think it'll make some thickness. I like the contour here, termination there, not so great. We might have to take one from the bottom here. Way too steep for that wood platform there. So take an angle down, start with the hammerstone nipper. If you go too far, then you go too low, and it's easier to build it back up rather than get your angle wrong or thicker and then have to fix it again. So this stuff you got to just sacrifice early. Let's get one fleck here, and then we'll move over, adjust that bump, and get one there. Coolio. This is the hardest part. I think I might have just chopped that down enough. I can, as long as I don't, if I hit in and support it, I think I can get this. Okay. That's nice. If you chip this thing, stuff clean, 6-to-1, then you can display your man card before your debit card anywhere you go for a while to bewildered looks. Okay, I like where we're at. This is getting long, so let me show some. I think this is going to clean out here, and so that'll be an easier cleaner. And then let's do some punching with really quick, just to set up platforms for a little bit more percussion work. So I have to blow my nose. I can't wipe my face, and the phone is too close. And I don't want to put you guys through some sniffing and snorting. So let's make this end of part 1. Part 2, we'll resume with some shaft wood punch, edge trimming, and platform setup.